and you were sharing some about instant booking, and I found that very fascinating. Could you maybe share more about that, and then some kind of some of the nuanced decisions that went into introducing that from a marketing side too?
Yeah, so all of this sounds like it's really planned and strategic now, but certainly at the time it was more like, let's just try a bunch of things and see what's going to work. So I don't want to pretend like we had a master plan from the beginning and we sort of just, layered on this stuff over time. But I'll speak about it as if it was strategic, so that it's sort of digestible. So what we've realized is that we started Airtasker with an open marketplace format, which was you could post any kind of job and any service provider could just come on and quote against that job. And we relied on accountability and transparency to drive quality. So basically, you wouldn't quote on a job that you couldn't do, because why would you? If you have to be accountable and transparent for actually completing that job, there's no reason why you would do that. Which turns out to be a truism. People don't bid on jobs that they can't do. So we started out with this very open model. And it turns out that that is a really good foundation, because it actually is the catch-all for all kinds of jobs can go through that sort of open marketplace model. But then what we realized is every kind of service has a different sort of user journey that comes with it. And so, for example, for a service like finding a karate teacher, let's say you want someone to teach you karate, you want someone who's like the best local karate teacher. You're unlikely to go into an open marketplace and say, hey, everybody, I'm looking for a karate teacher. That's not the user journey that people want. What they would rather do is browse through a list of karate teachers, find the one that actually meets their needs, get inspired by what that person has to offer, and then pick the karate teacher from that list. And so what you can see there is like the service of getting your toilet fixed is very different to the service of finding a karate teacher. And so you needed to have like different marketplace models to be able to carry users through this user journey of ultimately getting to a service that they're paying for. We've just introduced a new model, which is called a listings model, where service providers can list up all the services that they can do, and then customers can instantly book those services. But we actually see a future in which you can take that even further. So, for example, rather than the service providers, the taskers coming up with the service package, it could actually be Airtasker coming up with the service package and say, here's the defined thing. It's $200 for this amount of service, and then connect both the buyer and the seller into that defined contract. So that's another model that we have built. And then another model that sits on top of that is, for example, subscriptions. So say that you want that same service, but you want it to recur every week. Basically, we have a different marketplace model to attack all the different kinds of service verticals that exist out there, because the user journey is definitely different across each of them.
Nice. That's super interesting. And yeah, thanks for sharing more on that. So on the subscription, I'm assuming that you introduced that to the higher frequency needs initially.
Yeah. So I mean, leakage is that massive, issue for all marketplaces. We don't obsess over leakage, to be honest, because I think that if you focus on leakage, it's the wrong direction to be going in. Like, you should be focusing on how you're going to get customers to get value out of your product. If you focus on that, then leakage will solve itself, because you'll be creating enough value that customers won't want to go around you. Subscriptions obviously does solve things like leakage, and I think a lot of companies do immediately want to go after that subscription model. But when we actually boiled it down, there aren't that many services which occur on like that regular frequency. There's sort of the obvious ones like lawn mowing and cleaning. But in many cases, the service requirements are constantly changing over time, or they're not happening on a regular cadence, or it's actually that the customer wants to have a different service provider each time. And so finding services that are sort of productizable and then repeating on a regular cadence and that are predictable upfront, that subset actually becomes pretty small. I think it's sort of cleaning, lawn mowing, and there's definitely others too, but ones that have a big addressable market are probably somewhat limited.